Okay, this time I think it's going to work. Thank you, those of you that have been seeing me go in and out. Welcome to Tuesdays with Paula. Today's topic is inspiration, and how do you know it's coming from the right source? By the way, I'm Paula K Bronte, your Master Rapid Eye Technician, and inspiration literally means, in the Greek translation, to take in the breath of God. So when we feel truly inspired, we are popping. We feel like excited, happy to be alive, and there's a physiological thing that happens. The dopamine, the serotonin start to increase, the adrenaline pumps a little bit, the heart starts to go up, and there's a sense of excitement and joy that comes when we get truly inspired. That call to action that feels so genuine. And I'm going to invite you to just take a minute and think about, when was the last time you felt truly inspired? It might have been in the shower. That happens often. There's something that happens in the body when we're in the shower that allows us to open our minds and go into a deeper level of consciousness. We kind of sink down a bit into alpha state, and we're more open to receive the messages. Okay, now we often feel that when we get that it's our call to action, and it's right action because this inspiration is so true, and we know it's the right thing to do, and it takes us out of our usual routine. Inspiration is usually something that makes us feel really connected to a next greatest version of ourselves, and it's a joyful and wonderful place to be. And sometimes inspiration does not come from the highest and best source. We saw that yesterday. It was yesterday morning. Kate Allen, my muse and friend, we were talking about today's topic, and it was her idea. And we had no idea, of course, at the time what was about to take place in Las Vegas. And I'm certain that man was quite inspired and totally unaware that the source of his inspiration was not pure and divine. And so often take a look at where we in our everyday lives feel God in action, that we think it's just the right thing. I know it's the right thing to do. I can feel it and I'm excited about it. And then we do it, and it's a mistake. It turns out to be something that does not work for us. That was actually a bad idea. And then we feel a little betrayed. Oh, but it feels like the angels or God told me to do that. I felt so inspired. It felt like such a right thing to do, and now look at what happened. So examine and get in touch with really getting clear about where our inspiration is coming from. It's pretty important. And it's not very hard. It just takes a little practice, like most things. So inspiration, when it's true inspiration, does come from the divine. It does come from that ability to open and see the big picture and receive more information. So we do walk around very fast in our left brain, stuck in the detail and in the box and in the parameters of what we believe to be reality. However, there are infinite possibilities. And when we get into a state of meditation, or as I said, taking a shower, sometimes when we first wake up in the morning, we're in that receptive mode, where that right brain begins to open and access information that's beyond our usual, finite left brain detail analysis. And when that comes from that divine higher place, when it comes from your higher consciousness, from the angels, from God, from wherever we get this information, then of course it is pure, and it is up to us to hear it and follow it and ask questions like, okay, how is this going to be the thing that brings me forward? What's my plan of action so that this inspiration can actually take place? And in order to get that information from the highest source, we first want to make sure. Hi, Melissa. Appreciate doing this. I've done that before. Oh yeah, right, exactly. Many of us have. It's like we look back and say, "What? That was supposed to be such a great thing, and look at what happened." So really learning how to get clear about where the inspiration comes from, and getting clear on saying, okay, so what's my part in this? I was given this information. Now, how do I proceed to be able to access it and allow it to take place? Those are the two most important pieces when we're receiving inspiration. The first one is it coming from the right source? And by right, I mean pure, the higher divine mind, the higher consciousness, as I said, the angels, the truth. However, we all have cell memory. We all have habitual patterns of thinking and handling situations. And if we are in a pinch, let's say, or we're in a tough situation, and desperation creeps in, then very often the old cell memory kicks in, a thought pattern that took place before can creep in. Sometimes it's outside forces. I know that there is a school of thought that says there is no right or wrong, no good or evil. However, I'm not in agreement with that, and I mentioned that in my book. I believe that is one of the ways that the lower consciousness, darker forces, they manipulate us by trying to make us think they don't exist, right? What better way to hide than in invisibility? And I talk about that in my book, Called to Mastery. So we want to get clear that our inspiration is coming from pure thought, not from old patterns, not from cell memory. Because that can come up at a moment of desperation. We can have cellular memory trigger something within us, a stress pattern, a way of dealing with stress that we are unconscious about, that simply makes us make a wrong decision because we're desperate. And it's like, no, I was inspired. I know this is the right thing to do. And it really turns out to be a desperate act. And it wasn't inspiration at all. Now, there are also other ways that we can receive false information, let's call it, that's not truly inspiration. And that is when we're physically not feeling well. That's why very often on these shows I do talk about our health and how important it is to have our bodies functioning optimally. Because when the hormones, the endocrine system, the stress patterns in the body are beginning to run the cellular activity, our thoughts are not very clear. And we go into confusion. Right? Confusion comes when we question truth. Right? When we know what's right in our heart and soul, and we're very clear about what's true and what's right. And then we begin to question it, and we begin to second guess it. And if we're particularly sick and worn down or burned out, then it's very easy for us to go into that pattern of doubting. Right? Doubt and fear are the things that can truly keep us from receiving and being clear on what inspiration is coming from source and what inspiration is coming from desperation or lower forces. So how do we know that it's the right source? One of the easiest and clearest ways is to truly begin to practice the art of meditation. And many people do already, and many people don't, and many people struggle with it. So getting quiet, getting into the silence and going into a thoughtless meditation allows that right brain to open up and hear and receive. It brings us into the receptive mode. Right? Abraham Hicks talks about the receptive mode very often. And she will also talks about meditation. And in the beginning, we can't just turn it all off and go right into silence. So guided meditations are extremely helpful to start to quiet the mind and focus the mind onto one thing. However, the goal is to begin to move into a place of pure thoughtlessness. Deepak Chopra calls it the gap, the space between thoughts. And that space can widen and widen and widen until we do come into the true illumination of silence. And in the illumination of silence, then true inspiration comes through. And it doesn't have to be a long time. You can sit for 5 minutes in the morning. And really, I've found, and I've heard from many people, that one of the easiest ways to do this is to focus on your breath. Is to just put your attention right there at your nostrils and breathe in and out. And it will quiet the mind, give it something to focus on. It brings your body into a state of regulated breathing, and then you are more open to receiving inspiration. So you may have heard the saying that prayer is when we speak to God, and meditation is when we listen. And that's truly what inspiration is. It's listening. However, the interesting part about it is that in those moments of silence, we are not necessarily the times when we'll hear something. However, if we practice meditation on a regular basis, and we do have those few minutes of quiet mind, then there are times like when we're in the shower, or when we're driving down the freeway and not really focused on anything in particular, or when we're waking up in the morning. Those are the moments when we'll hear it. That's when the message, it's almost like it takes all that time to get from way up there in and through our dense layers of the earth and into this being. So meditation and being in that state of silence and quiet and tuning in prepares you to be able to receive and hear what's true. Another way is to just begin to really learn where your core self is, to close your eyes and breathe into the core of your being. So many of us have talked about being grounded. When we are being inspired from the true source on a regular basis, it usually means we're grounded. It usually means that we are really fully in our body, and we have all of our energies flowing, and we're ready to receive the information that comes to us and act on it. Right? So that's the other question. When you start receiving informations, sometimes we'll get an inspiration. Okay, I have to go write this book, right? I've got a second book I have to get published and get out there. And it feels great, and I'm excited, and yeah, I'm going to do this. And then I start trying to figure out the how-tos. How am I going to find the time? How am I going to put the time together? How am I going to get it published? The how-tos are death to inspiration, because they're not our business. Right? Our business was receiving the information and discerning that it came from source. And one of the ways that we know it doesn't come from source is if it doesn't feel good. Right? If the inspiration in the moment comes to us, feels great and it's exciting, and yeah, I'm going to do this, and then we go about the business of beginning to do it, and it doesn't feel good, there's a lot of obstacles, we start feeling off course, then it's pretty certain that it's not from a pure source. Abraham Hicks talks about our inner guidance system, and that inner guidance system will tell you if you're listening. And that's where the meditation piece comes in. Being able to get quiet, meditate. Being able to get grounded so that you are able to listen. And so inner guidance will tell you every time if it's true inspiration or not. And looking at the gentleman yesterday, his inspiration obviously was not from the right source. And when we receive messages, we receive the inclination to act in a way that is coming from when we are being influenced by lower vibratory forces. And like I said, there's lots of names for it: darkness, evil, all kinds of names. It's a low vibrational force. And it's mostly created by us, right? We emanate vibration with all of our thoughts and feelings. And then there are enough of them, they build momentum, and they actually create a consciousness. And these lower consciousnesses, this darkness, does have an influence when we are unaware. And someone like that, I have no idea what happened. However, I'm certain when he was doing it, he felt totally inspired and thought it was the right thing. And obviously, it came from a force that was very far from light. And there was a part of him that was not feeling good about it. It had to be because it wasn't truth. When it's not truth, it doesn't feel right. It's some place within us. So that's a clue for you. When you start feeling, when you get that feeling, often it's in the gut, when you get that feeling of, oh no, something's wrong here. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. When the fear comes in, no, fear comes even when we're doing something great, right? So fear is not always an indicator. But there's a knot that happens in the gut that tells us, wait a minute. There's an activity that goes on the brain that's trying to keep us safe. And when we override that, that's when we end up turning what we believed was inspiration into mistakes and wrong choices. So having your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels all truly in tune and working together, being grounded, doing your work, coming and getting some rapid eye so that the cellular memories that cause the old patterns to just keep repeating and making us think we're being inspired when really all we're doing is the same old thing in a different way. When we are away from that mistaken understanding of what's true, and the confusion clears because we've had a few rapid eye sessions or we've done our meditation and we've grounded, then we are open to receive what's clear. And then we stay away from the hows. That's where I was going a little while ago. The hows are not our business. The how is the business of the source that gave us the inspiration. Right? We get the inspiration and we feed it. We milk it. And we think about, oh, this is going to be so great. I was using the example of writing a second book. Oh, how excited. Gee, what should I write about? And then the inspiration keeps coming. And I remember how great it feels to be in that creative place, to sit for hours and feel like it was 5 minutes, and open myself and go into a complete space of quietness and just allow the words to come through, and how great that feels. And how wonderful it is when I'm open and receiving and knowing that I'm so much more than this physical body. I'm so much more than what the external shows. That I'm really a total creator, and how great it's going to be to sit and get that book written. When I move into that, and when you start feeding that the inspiration, that's when it starts to unfold and the momentum happens. However, if you go into, okay, how am I going to get it done? Great. Thanks for the information, God. I'm glad you want me to write a second book, but how am I supposed to find the time? How am I supposed to get it published? How? You kill the inspiration. You take yourself out of alignment with the source that gave you the information, because the how-to is not our business, right? The how-to is the universal partner's business. The how-to is the law of attraction's business. The how-to is the source's business that gave us the inspiration. We leave that to them. We ask the question and then keep feeding the inspiration and allow the answers to come. So it really is all about being able to tune in and get quiet and ask the question, okay, I just had this inspiration. I've just had this feeling that, okay, I should make an appointment to go see Jane Doe. And you tune in and make a habit of, is that true? Is that true? Is that the highest, best action for me at this time? Some people use muscle testing to ask the questions. You can just move into your body and get that feeling. Okay, is that the highest, best thing for me to do? I just had this thought. Is this a true inspiration? Or is this a thought from desperation? Is this a thought from an outside force? Is this true? And you feel the answer. And you start following guidance and stay conscious and clear and aware. And if things start going truly sour, if you start having that feeling right there at the pit of your gut that something's wrong, then stop and listen. Sometimes we get so attached to what we want. Sometimes we get so deeply attached to what we thought was an inspiration to bring us what we want that we lose sight of the fact that we may be going down the wrong road. So what I'd like to do is invite you today to, if you haven't been meditating, begin. And it doesn't have to be a big, huge commitment. It takes lots of time. You can begin by just 10 minutes, closing your eyes and focusing on your breath. You can begin with some guided meditations. Abraham has many of them. I've discovered a gentleman named Steve Noble who also does some wonderful guided meditations. Use them to help you begin to get used to being still and quiet. And then move into listening to your breath. And then move into putting your attention up here. I followed a woman for a number of years. Her name was Sri Mataji, in the form of meditation. And in that meditation, above our heads, find a spot up here where our God presence, and hear what our higher self, what our God, and by focusing the attention above your head, easier to move into that silence. So meditation, getting grounded. I can't talk about it too much. If you don't know how to ground, look up grounding techniques. Sit on the earth. Focus, just allow yourself to the consciousness of Mother Earth. It's very grounding. Allow yourself to just sink right down into her consciousness and become a part of it. Very grounding. Come and get rapid eye sessions and get grounded and get some of the cell memory that keeps forcing you to make the same old mistakes over and over again. Get some of those sessions done and make the habit of tuning in. Is this true? Byron Katie says, is this true? Can I know this is absolutely true? And start asking, is this the right action? What do I do next? It's as if you have an invisible friend with you. I call the angels buddies without bodies. Begin as if you're asking an angel. Is this the right thing? Am I supposed to follow this inspiration? Is this true inspiration? God, is this inspiration coming from you? And when you're quiet enough, you can feel it and know it. And I would also like to invite you to ask people that know you well, do a little survey and start asking those folks if they observe in you a saboteur, if you have had the experience of feeling this is inspired and this is right and this is what I'm going to do and I'm on fire, and then things happen that completely pull the rug out from under you, and that seems to be a pattern. There's probably an archetype of saboteur running, right? No matter what I do, things don't work out. And it's very hard to see it ourselves. I have someone very close to me who has the saboteur archetype, and it's difficult to see it and to know it. And it's not something you're doing, so it's not about blaming yourself, I keep doing this. It's actually an archetype. It's actually a consciousness, an energetic force that is stuck in your magnetic field. And it comes from cell memory. It comes from past experiences. And it is a consciousness that gets built up. The archetypes are a very interesting study, and there are many of them, and one of them is the saboteur. And so you may get a true inspiration, but that saboteur that's been around a long time says, oh, hell no, not going to let you have that success. And so then you start making wrong choices, and or even just it happens kind of automatically, it seems, because that archetype of saboteur is very creative, and they're going to create obstacles and ways to stop the inspiration from being able to get born through you fully. So you may want to do a little survey and ask people, do you see a saboteur in me? Do you think when this happened and that happened and that happened and I was on my way and then I got sick, or I was on my way and then the cop stopped me, or, when these things all keep happening repeatedly, do you think it could possibly be that there's sabotage in my field, that there is an unconscious, unknown pattern of sabotage, that I'm not even doing anything to make happen anymore, but everything I do seems to make it happen? It's a good question to ask people that are close to you, because then when you begin receiving those pure, true inspirations, you can know that there could be some glitch in this and getting the work done. It's not hard to get the saboteur to disappear. There's a lot of techniques and ways to do it. The body code could take care of it pretty easily. I know Rapid Eye does. You can specifically ask those angels, the unemployed angels, say, okay, they like specifics. Okay, I've got this saboteur that's controlling my life. Angels, would you please come on in and just dissolve and consume that, annihilate that? Or give me the inspiration to find the right practitioner that will help me let that saboteur go. Lots of ways to move through the saboteur. And true inspiration will begin to take place more and more often, more clearly, and more powerfully when that saboteur is gone. Okay, so it's time to wrap it up. My message to you today is open and receive. Ask every day for true, pure inspiration from the highest source possible for you. And then get quiet. Tune in. We are so connected out there. Our attention more and more every day is just sucked away into a million different things. Stop, breathe your energy back in. Be quiet for 1 minute, just gathering yourself back in, pulling your energy back in from all those places. Come into yourself, center, feel clear, and ask the question, is this pure inspiration? Please send me inspiration. Ask for the inspiration that will show you how to begin to awaken in more and more ways those dormant powers that I've been talking about, our superpowers. The powers that we have as human beings that we have not even begun to touch the tip of the iceberg of. And those moments where you can tune in and feel truly connected to your source and truly grounded, ask that those dormant powers that you have within you begin to awaken. Ask that you be guided so that they do awaken within you. Be guided in the ways that you can open to them and receive the ability to walk in this world as the being of light that you came to be, serving yourself and all of humanity. There is a force and a power of light on this planet that lies within you and everywhere that is far more powerful than any of the darkness, any of those lower vibratory forces. And when we get quiet, and when we are in those moments of receiving information, we are in tune with that light. It's very accessible, and it's very easy to activate it. It's intention, and it's attention. And you can become a force of light, because that's why you came. That's why you're here. So open, receive inspiration. Ask to know that it's coming from pure source. And then begin to walk in the true identity of a being of powerful light. And see what happens. Life gets to be fun. Okay. You can check out my website, www.intheblink-of-an-eye.com. My email is Paula K, the letter K Bronte, @gmail.com. My book is A Call to Mastery, Living the Art of Ascension. And I hope that in some ways this was inspiring for you. I hope that you know when you turn this button off that you are truly a being of light. And you are able to access inspiration and messages and clarity from the divine source now more than ever before in our history. Just tune in and make certain that it's coming from pure source. And you will know because you can trust your inner guidance system. All right, beloved ones, thank you so much. I love you. Have a blessed week. We'll see you next week.